Hey guys, hope you're well. Welcome back to another episode of whatever this series is. I hope you liked the previous episode where we were talking about drama school with Lucy Hunt. Thank you for showing it so much love. Hope you find this one useful too. So this time around, I sat down with an incredible actor, artist, and a dear friend, Grace Ward. Grace, I've known for a good number of years now. We've worked on a number of projects together, and she is, as I've mentioned, a fantastic artist, a fantastic painter, drawer, writer, and actor. We were on the Emerging Brits program together with the NYFA, and we were also on the same film, Kindred. So I was the AD, Grace was one of the actors, and this time round I wanted to sit down and talk about the creative path, the creative journey. Is there such a thing as a right path, as a wrong path? Guess we'll find out. So let's just go straight into it. Do you know the way, Grace? What's the way? What's the right way to be creative? What's the right way to be successful?
I mean, you kind of get told a lot of the time, like, you should do it this way, you should do it that way. So for instance, like when I was a teenager, when I was 18, just about to leave school, I thought the only two ways to get into, for instance, being an actor was either you had to have been a child star and you would have to have been acting since 4 to 5 years old onwards.
Yeah, just have it in your
DNA. And obviously I hadn't done that, so my only other option was drama school, and you know, go to a prestigious one like RADA or Orlando or somewhere.
It's really interesting. I just did an episode on drama school.
Oh, really?
So yeah,
well,
in contrast, that's gonna be great. Yeah,
it's such a for people that perhaps aren't in the industry, people think that that's the only way.
Yeah,
and so I kind of thought that was the only way, and then I wasn't ready for drama school at 18. I hadn't lived enough life then. I mean, obviously I had lived a life, but I think I definitely wasn't ready, and I think I did one audition, and it wasn't very good.
Didn't feel it.
And so I thought, oh my God, I don't know what way to go. But then I think once you like meet other different actors, filmmakers, you realize that there's so many different ways into it, and it's both brilliant because you think, oh, if one way doesn't work, I'll use another one. But it also can be a bit overwhelming because you just think, what's the right one for me? You know, I mean, for like, I have friends who have careers. Like, I have a best friend that's a pharmacist, and the way she had to be a pharmacist was 4-year degree and a placement year, and that's the only way she could be a pharmacist. So it was straightforward in a way. Whereas acting, filmmaking,
it's like it's the same thing with like university and versus apprenticeships as well, right? There's no one way to make a career or to be successful, you know, whatever that means.
What does that mean?
So it's really down to your pace and down to your preference, isn't it? And part of that comes down to listening to yourself.
Exactly. I think, and it's also it's different for everyone, because some people can find success at 18, some people find success at 35. Like, it's
gosh, we're gonna talk about that as well.
Oh yeah, that's it. I think it all depends on you, and I know that's it's kind of it's an annoying thing to hear when you are trying to get into the industry, which I am still trying. Still trying since God, however, it's been like 7-8 years now of trying.
And it's a crime that Grace isn't still. Yeah, no, she's incredible. She's genuine.
Honestly thought by the time I was 24 that I would have been in feature films and would have been at the BAFTAs by now.
Expectations, good or bad? Is it good to have self-expectations or not?
I think it's good to have goals and it's good to have expectations, but I think it depends, because I think
tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess you've got to have some expectation, but also you have to be open-minded to not failure, but to things not going your way. And sometimes, often, the best things happen from things not going right. And you know, the amount of times I always tell this story, but you
Go
know,
on.
getting into the National Youth Film Academy,
Hey.
I shout out to Nifer.
Mm-hmm.
I auditioned for a because I went to university,
Mm-hmm.
studied creative writing,
Lovely.
and
Got a first class.
there is whoop whoop one of my only achievements. Lol. No, kidding.
No, 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 no.
And I auditioned for Roehampton Players, because they're a drama society. I auditioned for Twelfth Night, which is one of my favourite Shakespeare plays, and
Mm-hmm.
Viola is one of my dream Shakespeare roles. So I thought, I'm going to audition for this, and
Lovely.
I got down to the last couple of people, and I thought, oh my god, I might actually get this role. This is really exciting. And then I didn't get it, and I didn't even get like a small speaking role in the show at all. So I was kind of
Damn.
a bit dejected, and I was like, I don't really
They're
know what
lost,
to
mate.
do.
Yeah.
But then I kind of just went, you know what? Screw it. I'll find some other acting opportunity. And I did some Google search. National Youth Film Academy came up. There was
Mm.
auditions the next weekend.
Mm.
I went to the audition. It was the 5th of March, which was a few days after my 22nd birthday. Went
Lovely.
to the audition. Next day, I got in, and it was like,
Yeah.
if I hadn't have got rejected from that theatre show, if I'd have got that role, I wouldn't have gone to National Youth Film Academy. I wouldn't have been an emerging Brit. I wouldn't be here talking to you.
That's
So
true. Yeah, we actually did meet through the NYFA, so like that's actually
exactly.
accurate. Yeah, we wouldn't have met if that didn't happen.
So sometimes rejections are the best thing.
True, true. It's very much about, you know, your perspective, right? How you take that on, and
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of what my answer to the expectation question would be, in that it I agree with you. I'll echo what you're saying, that it's not bad at all to have goals or certain expectations. I think sometimes having certain expectations associated to age can be detrimental. Um,
Mm.
because I mean, I don't know, like it either works or it doesn't. Like it, I try to put expectations more on achieving certain targets, or as you said, you know,
Yeah.
goals. Like I want to make a certain amount of short films this year, or I want to work with XYZ this year, or I want to make a film about
Mm-hmm.
something that, like, these are the kind of goals I try to work towards. If I miss it, like, I don't try to beat myself up too much about it.
Mm-hmm.
I try to sort of reevaluate, realign myself,
Yeah.
like check what went wrong. If it's a mental health thing, if it's like a
Mm-hmm.
personal thing, if it's like a technical thing, like I try to reflect,
Mm-hmm.
very I don't know, on a very unjudgmental kind of way.
Yeah, you've got to give yourself credit. And I think
Yeah.
definitely every creative person this year has had
Mm,
to do that. We've had to
yeah.
kind of sit back and be like, right, okay,
What do we
we're
do?
not we're not doing what we want to do right now, but
Yeah,
we've got to give ourselves credit. Like
absolutely.
it's a difficult time. So
Absolutely. Okay, so moving on. Having, of course, there's no such thing as a right or wrong way
mhm,
through your creativity or success or whatever. You follow your own pace and you listen to your own self. That's
yeah.
very important. Now, sometimes as a creative, there's not just one thing that you're interested in or you're good at, like yourself. You're an incredible actor. I know that already because I've worked with you, and I've seen your work.
Oh, stop
Um,
it.
I also know that you're an incredible artist. Like you draw, you also write. And so when you have multiple art forms or creative outlets, how do you focus your energy? Like, you know, when you're on this path, when you're on this, like, are you like, this is what I want to be and this is what I'm going to focus on,
Mhm.
or do you share your energies? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely will hold my hands up and say that I haven't always done that well. I haven't always balanced what
Same.
I've wanted to do well, but I think it's working out what works for you at that moment in time. I think because when I applied for university, I applied for drama and creative writing,
Mm,
but then I decided to actually drop the drama part because I just realised that, I mean, the drama at the university I went to was very good. I just didn't feel like it was for me, so I just focused solely on the writing.
yeah.
But I still wanted to do acting, so I did acting outside of university. So I did a couple of theatre shows, and so I kind of balanced it that way. My degree was kind of the most important thing,
Yeah.
but you know, getting some acting jobs and things outside of uni was also a good way of doing it. And I think figuring out a balance, it honestly depends on kind of the circumstance you're in. I think I will say this year, although I'm writing a book at the moment, side note, and
Just casually dropping
I
that in
say
there.
at the moment, I've been writing it for quite a few years,
No,
and
it's
that did
fine.
take a bit of a backseat for a bit. And so this year I kind of wanted to kind of focus on that a little bit more. And so I'm starting to, in the last couple of months, do that. And
Amazing.
because I know that acting opportunities are quite slim at the moment. I managed to get a role this year, which was very last minute and very crazy.
I saw. It was really good.
That was like one of those last minute things where someone asked you to be in a film, and I was kind of just like, screw it, why not? And then 15
you
hours
had
later,
what crazy, 14 hours or something?
Literally, like it was about 15 hours from getting told I had the role to being in
on
the
set.
film. But apart from that, acting has been very dry this year. So I kind of thought maybe my way of perhaps, I mean, this is a plan, I don't know if it's going to happen, but my way of kind of maybe getting into the industry is potentially through my writing. So I actually have a meeting with an editor next week, which is quite exciting, to talk through one of my chapters. And I'm hoping that, you know, I'll be able to get a writer agent, and then that way there's a few agencies I've seen that do writing and acting, so I'm hoping if I get kind of a agent as a writer, I'll be like, I'm also an actor, kind of slide
get that
in
double
that
barrel
way,
in.
maybe that way, because I always thought, I'd have to be an actor first before I'm a writer, before I'm known as a writer, because, you know, acting, I don't know, you're kind of seen more, at least.
So from what you're telling me, it sounds like what has really helped in this case is having some sort of agility, creative agility, priority agility, flexibility in terms. I think sometimes this is often a trap that I fall into as well, where like, oh, I'm definitely this is what I am going to be, this is what I want to do, and that's fine, that's great, but that's not necessarily at the expense of suppressing my other art forms or other forms of creativity, because as you said, sometimes you find yourself in a situation where your main goal, your main thing isn't working out, like you just you can't find enough opportunities to practice it, so you have your other outlets not to fall back on, but to, like, that's it, you just switch lanes for a bit. And sometimes that can bring you recognition, success, happiness, contentness, in ways that you didn't necessarily think was possible, or that you weren't expecting, because you had all your chips on like one thing. Right. So in light of what we've been talking about, I think it's only fair that we talk about the whole idea of us versus them. Right. It is so easy to start comparing yourself in your own creative journey to other people in their own creative journey. And I like already there's like sentiments bubbling. I can sense, talk to me about that.
Well, it's funny because earlier on in my kind of creative journey, I never really compared myself to other people, because I think I didn't know that many people. Like most of my friends from school were doing stuff to do with pharmacy, business, all that kind of sciencey stuff that I didn't get. And I was the only one going off to be an actor and a filmmaker. So I think I didn't really have anyone to compare myself to. And then I think in recent years, I mean, I will admit, especially since starting this National Youth Film Academy, I've met some very talented people, like extremely talented people, and a lot of them are younger than me, which kind of I kind of have like balanced emotions. I'm either absolutely in awe of them, I'm like, wow, you're so good at what you do, but then I'm also like, can you just hold on a minute, because I'm meant to be the one that's successful first. Like,
I really appreciate you sort of just like being that raw. Yeah, just straightforward, straight. No, I get it. Sometimes you are like, yo, where's my turn?
Yeah, you're 18, you're
Yeah,
16, shush, like just
you've
stop
done
for a
only a
moment.
fraction of the, yeah, I
That's
feel
it.
that.
And I think it happens, like there's perhaps friends that have been doing this not as long as me. Like I said earlier, I started properly pursuing this at 17. I'm now
Right.
24, close to turning 25.
Lovely.
And there's friends that have only been doing this for 2-3 years,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they have already got agents who have
Mm,
secured them paid roles, and I'm
mm. What's that
so
like?
proud of them. That's the thing. When they're friends I obviously love, I'm
Yeah,
really proud of them. But
yeah,
then there are moments where I just go, oh, why am I not there yet? I've been doing this longer than
yeah,
them. Like, am I
yeah,
not? People are telling me I'm good at what I'm doing, but why
yeah.
do I not have as much to show for it? It's
Mm,
that internalized struggle where you feel so guilty being
mm,
kind of like negative about someone else's success, but you're not being negative about their success, but
mm,
you're being more negative about your supposed not success. But I think success
mm.
looks different for everybody, so you've got to keep reminding yourself that. I'm saying that to myself right now. It's
Yeah, no,
fine,
I
it's
feel
fine.
that.
Everything
I
is
feel
fine.
that. See, the thing is, it's definitely a sentiment that a lot of people can relate to, and I definitely empathize with it 100%. Um, and it's such a difficult one to tackle, isn't it?
Mm,
But I think what sort of helps me, anyways, is like recognizing that that's a very negative and toxic
mhm.
downward spiral to go. So
Yeah.
if you have like a moment of clarity where you snap out and you're like, oh damn, my mental health, you're like you're gonna have to like snap out of that
Mhm.
real quick, right?
Yes,
So you
exactly.
recognize it, and you pull yourself out of that thought, first of all. Secondly,
Mhm.
this is a point that I like to keep reminding myself, and I think I mentioned it in a previous episode as well. It's about the community, right?
Mhm.
So sure, okay, if it's not you today, at least it's someone else that's getting
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
And you gotta prop up each other. I feel like that's just how the community works best. I mean, that might not be the case in real world, but like kindness and, I don't know, generosity
Yeah.
and support goes a long way. And I feel like that's one of the big reasons why I just love the sort of artistic, creative
Mhm.
community itself. Like everyone's very nurturing, at least the people that I know.
Definitely.
So I think that's a very, very big part of it, keeping that in mind as well. And thirdly, for me, it's like you've got to just work on yourself, man. Like
Mhm.
if they're doing art, if they're doing work, that's to be consumed. That's not to be
Yeah,
compared against, right?
exactly.
Um, yes, there may be some days where you can't help but compare it. In which case, just don't watch it. Just don't like
Yeah.
divert yourself, right?
Mhm.
But days where you are feeling a lot better, appreciate their work for what it is. It's
Yeah,
art. It's to be consumed. Consume it, and then focus on your own art, and then
exactly.
know that you'll get your turn eventually as well. Just find your own way. Focus on your own
Yeah,
path.
exactly. I think that's kind of it's a journey. I think every creative will go through it at some point, even
Yeah.
if you kind of like try really hard not to, you will at some point, but then you'll get out of it. You'll kind of be like you say, you'll be like, that's a negative thought. I can't think like that. I think community, like you say, is such an
Mm.
important thing. I think it is so uplifting. I think I've had moments where I've just thought like, oh God, am I actually that good? Am I actually that,
Self-doubt,
like,
man. That
yeah,
happens all the
self-doubt.
time.
But then there are other creatives that will be like, no, you're great, you are good at what you do. And I'm just like, am I really, like,
Am I?
crying into my beer, like, am I really that good? And they're like, yeah, you're great. And I'm like, okay, thanks. And I don't know, it's I think it's definitely there's pros and cons of everything, but you've just got to
Yeah.
look at the pros more than the cons, I think.
Yeah, true. I mean, especially when you realize that cons are nothing but self-destructive, like in this
Hmm.
case. So you gotta stay away from the self-destructive stuff.
Exactly.
On that point, I think what brings me a lot of solace is knowing that, listening to a lot of filmmakers, artists, creatives through podcasts, videos, etc. So there's so much stuff out there, so you can literally hear and listen to, the people that you follow or idolize, or
Mhm.
follow in the footsteps, all of that, people that you admire. they share their stories, and it's literally the same. Everyone kind of has been through this exact same sentiment, this emotion, this whole cycle of self-doubt to comparison to like, and then snapping out of it, and then working on yourself, and then finding your style, and then slipping back into it. And it
Mhm.
this is literally the creative cycle, the artistic cycle. It's part of the
Yeah.
journey. And if
And if you
anything,
think
that
about it, sorry,
yeah,
go
go ahead.
on.
No, I was gonna say, like, if anything, that validates the sort of the fact that yes, I am a filmmaker. I am an
Yeah.
artist because I'm going through the same journey, the same emotions
Exactly.
as
You're
all the
you're at
people
that
that I
point.
admire.
You're at that point in a storyline where maybe things aren't going well, but you will
Yeah,
get to the good stuff. And I always say when things aren't working my way, when things are going wrong, I just think this is great content for my autobiography.
exactly.
When I'm a successful actor and writer, when I have my
Oh yes,
autobiography, this is the juicy stuff. Like
absolutely,
that's
absolutely.
the
This is
kind
the
of
bit
mindset you
that
need.
people will quote you on. Yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
So it's worth cherishing those moments as well, I suppose, when uncertainty and doubt sort of hits. But you got to push
Yeah,
through it. It's
exactly.
literally part of the process. It gets rid of the whole imposter syndrome. It's funny. This
Exactly.
is a bit paradoxical. Imposter syndrome gets rid of imposters.
Ooh.
Anyways, crazy.
That could be your next film idea, you know.
Yeah, imposter syndrome gets rid of imposter syndrome. Brilliant. Love it. Nolan's gonna be very happy with that.
Ooh.
Okay. Lastly, what I want to talk about is very briefly, very quickly. You're on this creative journey. We've talked about finding your path, finding your own self, listening to yourself. How do you sort of see yourself versus others, etc., etc., etc. How do you keep faith? This is a question I like to ask
Mhm.
everyone on the podcast episode, show. I don't know. Um, how do you keep faith when you're on this journey as a creative?
I think it's yeah, that is oh that's I think it's kind of it's I mean like one of the things we've touched upon is
Hmm.
talking to other people who are creative too. I
Hmm.
think every talking to other people, what journeys they're going through, maybe getting inspiration through that. I think but also allowing yourself time to kind of step out of it in a way. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you could focus so much on one thing and it's not going right, and I'm like, why haven't I finished my book yet, or why haven't I
Yeah.
got any acting roles yet? And you could dwell on it so much that it kind of taints your mindset. Sometimes you have to step back and
Hmm.
just do something completely different. I will just listen to music, or I listen to music
Hmm.
all the time. I've gone through so many earphones and headphones in the past
Yeah.
year because I
I'm
listen
looking
to
for a
it
new
all the
pair myself.
time. That's it. It's going through so many of those, just listening to music. Just I think uh, just distracting yourself for a bit. Like I've started cooking a bit more now, which is so
Amazing.
weird, but it's quite therapeutic. I mean, it's stressful as
Hmm.
well because a bit of sensory overload, all these different things. Like,
Yep.
oh my god, what am I doing? But it's something
Edible
to
chemistry.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
something to kind of direct energy onto, and then once you've kind of gone through that, you're ready to come back, and then it's like, oh, okay, there's still
Hmm.
actually, this creative journey I'm on is actually bloody awesome. Like,
Yeah.
like it kind of cleanses your mind of the negativity, and you're like, okay,
Hmm.
now I'm ready. Now I'm ready to finish this book. I'm ready to get a new acting role or something, and so it's giving yourself credit and giving yourself a break, and allowing yourself to kind of chill for a bit, and
Hmm.
not stress, because that's the thing. This creative journey is it's so exciting and it's so liberating, but it can
Yeah.
sometimes be overwhelming. So
Very taxing.
it's
Yeah.
getting a good balance of that, I'd say.
So yeah, if I were to summarize that, I'd probably say you need to recognize that it's part of the journey, and you are just you are literally just a vessel going through it, and this is just that part of the journey,
Yeah,
and you will get through it. So it's that belief, and also it's then, as you said, taking a break when you need to. So
yeah,
listening to yourself is very, very important. So take a break, literally, like you'll be fine. It's your journey. You can put things to one side, let yourself recover and heal. And again, I put so much emphasis on this. It's so important to look after yourself, and so important to prioritize your own health, physical and mental, because otherwise, you know,
how can you expect to put on a good performance or a good
exactly,
write a good story if you are not okay? So it's
exactly.
so take care of yourself. You you are your body is a temple. No, what's
Yes.
there's a phrase that I had there and I couldn't quite remember, but something along those lines.
I get the sentiment though. I get the sentiment. No, it's a lovely note to end on. Thank you so much, Grace. That's like really valuable stuff as well. Grace, that's been a very, very valuable chat. I hope people find a lot of value from the conversation that we've had. I think it's probably the longest conversation I've had so far. And this could have gone on for even longer, right?
Our chats go on for ages.
For a while.
We've had like deep chats for hours and hours and hours before, so condensing it should be interesting.
So that tells me that we definitely need to get you on another episode soon, which we will.
For sure.
I hope you've had a good time talking about the creative path, the creative journey. I hope people have enjoyed sort of listening about the creative journey and how do you navigate it. So I'll catch you on the next time we get you on the episode. Yeah. Thank you, Grace. Much
Thank
love.
you for having me.
Anytime.
Peace out.
All right, let me stop this. That was my conversation with Grace Ward. I hope you enjoyed what she and I had to say about the creative journey, the creative path, how to balance all the different things as you go along. Thank you so much for Grace for taking out the time and taking out the camera as well. This next bump up in production value seems really cool and nice and experimental. Hope you guys enjoyed what you saw, and if you liked what you saw, and if you have any thoughts about what we had to talk about, you know what to do. Comment down below, like, subscribe, share, all that good beautiful stuff. I'll see you in the next one.